I wondered if there is actually a problem with raising a smart kid. Well, if you're wondering how that actually is a conversation we should be having, you're welcome. I believe you want to understand how this is about and how and why this is necessary. We are talking about it, especially at a time in this moment in the year when schools have resumed or schools are bound to resume in different parts of the world. And so, whether your child is starting school for the first time or your child is returning to school, and you're a parent with young children, this is where you should be. And I want to believe you're listening up until this moment because you want to learn what exactly is the problem with raising smart kids. You're welcome. I am Choma Okoli, the founder of the Expectant Parent Academy, and your LEA's parent coach. And I will tell you what, if I'd come across a video with this topic some 2 years ago, I wouldn't give it I wouldn't give it my time because I'd be like, what is this person talking about? Anybody would want to raise a smart kid, myself inclusive. But you know what? This is a conversation we need to have, especially as parents with young children. And even if your children are no longer young, right? You still want to listen to this. Okay. So when we say smart kids, what exactly do I refer to? What exactly do I mean? I'll let you know. Smart kid denotes um one who has or shows a high degree of mental ability, one who is witty, clever. And come on, these are good traits, right? Okay, so let's look at the other part of the definition of a smart kid. Would define a smart kid also as one who is rude, impolite in a bold and disrespectful way. But I still, despite the other grammars, a child that is bold is a good thing, right? Yes. Boldness is one of the things that boldness, courage, and they are wonderful things that um even myself I look forward to raising children who are bold and all of that. However, there is a pattern of there is the idea that smart kids can get away with anything, and because they are smart, it takes care of every other thing that is not in place for them. So just in case you're wondering in concrete terms, what is it am I talking about that is wrong with um that is the problem with raising smart kids? We'll look at four of them. The first one is that parents of such a kid do not own the process of their child's smartness. After all, it's innate. So as a parent who feels my child is smart, you feel it's in your child, so you actually don't need to do anything to refine it. Your child just needs time on specified time, and every other person is the problem around the child because just give my child time, my child will sprout. You don't own the process of your child's success, and that's a big problem. That's a big problem. All right. So the next thing that is wrong with raising a smart kid is that the child is burdened with the responsibility of holding oneself accountable, even without being taught how to. And so from an early age, we present this child as this child is smart. We even say it several times to the child's hearing, and the child feels that because I am smart, I've heard it several times, I am smart. You know, I can figure any and everything out. And the parents on one side feels like, is it not this child? It's not this my child. He or she is smart. Don't worry, he'll figure it out. So we don't give them the attention they actually need to be coached or to practice this smartness in a certain direction that will help them to still be humble enough to learn and still be open to improving their own lives. And you may wonder how this concerns children within the ages of 0 to 6. Have you seen a child who obviously is sharp, right? But there are certain traits in this child that if only this child's parents were close enough to observe that this is going out of place, they would have redirected such a child. Because the parents are, on that high horse of my child is smart, my child is smart, my child is smart, they fail to do what they should actually do, and that stunts their child's success at life. All right. The third problem is that the child's environment is often left to chance, thereby creating even more pressure for the smart kid. Now, a child's environment is as important as every other thing that happens in that child's day-to-day experience. For instance, if you live next door, or if your compound is next to a strip house, or to a hotel with strip house, right? Or to a bar, and that this bar, blasts songs, a certain kind of songs that you readily would not want your children to listen to it, or the activities of the hotels and people that are lodging there are things that often constitute um um nuisance to even adult sites. And then you go tell your child, don't look out through the window, don't stay at the balcony, don't look through, don't look at the hotel field and all of that. The moment you say those, in fact, you've ignited your child's attention to those areas. And so what do you do in such an environment? You move from that area, or if you can influence the hotel or the bar from moving, you do so. But you cannot keep a child in a certain environment that is continually modeling a particular thing that is against what you actually want in your child. And then at the altar of my child is smart, my child is smart, my child will, don't worry, it's nothing. Once we move out of this place, my child will forget it and all of that. Your child's environment is bigger than your child's smartness. Smartness in quotes. And so do not joke with crafting or being in charge of your child's environment, because according to you, your child is smart, and your child will be able to navigate whatever thing it is that is going on. You want to pay attention to the environment you expose your child to, both at home and outside of the home. And then the fourth problem with raising smart kids is that the parents focus on this one trait of smartness while ignoring or tolerating the other weaknesses where they could have guided the child through. So your child is smart, okay, no problem. But how about also paying attention to the other aspects of your child's life that needs your guidance? And because we feel the child is smart, you figure everything out. Those other things you're not intentionally working on will constitute the greatest disadvantage your child will ever have, despite being the smartest. And so, why we may think this doesn't apply to me, why we may think this to be controversial, it's okay. But even if you can't relate to it growing up, I know some of us could actually relate to this growing up. Where you always say, yeah, where your parents would or even your teacher would always say, hey, she's smart, he's smart, and all of that. And then nobody pays attention to your challenges. So let's look at how this play out in the classroom, right? Let's see how this play out in the classroom. And if you listen up until this moment, I want to believe that you enjoy what you're listening to and you agree with what you're listening to. So go ahead and hit the subscription button and leave your comments in the comment section, like this video, and of course share it with other parents and other people who work with children, especially teachers, to have this extensive conversation. And even if you don't agree with me, it's okay. Still go ahead and listen to this video again, maybe in a relaxed mood, listen to the words, have the conversation with people you hold in high esteem, and actually digest the truth in this conversation. And if you're a parent, please put the things I share here into consideration, and you be grateful you did, even if not now. So let's look at the four ways that this problem of raising a smart kid shows up in the classroom. Number one is that such a child is under pressure to learn and to prove that he or she has learned, because he has understood that it is improving that he has learned. He has learned that he gains parental affection or adult acceptance. And this is a terrible place for any parent or any caregiver to place any child. And so that child is not paying attention to learn and putting what he or she has learned into use to change his or her life or to make things better for the next person. The person is learning solely to prove to any and every person that he has learned. And that undermines the spirit of lifelong learning. You learn for yourself first, not necessarily trying to prove anything to anyone. And this is key. And the second one is that such a child sees performance as what learning is instead of change. Yes. And the third one is that this child has me versus them mentality, which erodes the sense of sportsmanship in your child. So, me, I am the smart one, I am the smart one. They are the ones that are not smart. I'm the smart one. They're the ones that are not smart. So it's always a me versus them mentality for your child. And there's nothing that, dwarfs children or children's social skills like, this outrightly singling your child out amongst others and making your child feel like you're better than every other person. Even if your child is better than every other person, right? The child is still growing. The child is still growing. So can you give the child an opportunity to have a cup half full so that your child can always be poured into? This is very key and this is very important. And then the fourth way that this shows up, this one pertains parents, is that parents are about being proud of such a child and not necessarily interested about the process they followed to maintain their smart status quo. And this is very key. Your child is smart. Your child is smart. That's a good thing. And each time your child brings you a result or does something that shows my child is smart, can you look at the process that resulted in that result or in that outcome you are being proud of? It's very key because it is in the process that you know who your child is and who your child can become despite being smart. All right? And like I said, if you don't agree with what I've said, just calm down, sit with this video again, and actually think through the conversation. Actually think through the conversation. Like I would say, those of us who have young children in this dispensation, we are very fortunate and lucky. You know why? The people before us did not have all of the information we are having now. But our biggest advantage is not that we have the information. It would be that we put the information we are getting into implementation. And so if you get all the information and we don't put it into work, we are as good as the generations past who didn't have the information. All right? And it is the good job that you and I do today that our children will stand on as a scaffold to actually move on or to actually fly in their respective areas as they grow older. If we don't put in the work now, will be the biggest disadvantage that they will ever have as parents. And I do not believe that you listening to me, or I do not think that you listening to me up until this moment wants this for your child. So go ahead and look through your process. Have you been announcing again and again your child's smartness to him or her to such an extent that it's becoming a problem? Look at your process and change what needs to change. Once again, I am Chomo Kohli, your early years parent coach and the founder of the Esperant Parent Academy. See you next time. Every Mondays and Fridays, there is always a video upload on parenting, and Wednesdays, there is a video conversation on pregnancy. So if you're within your childbearing age and you're a young parent, this is where you have to be. You have an amazing day, everyone, and thank you for joining me today.